Hey everybody, Gabe Jenkins back with you. Excited to talk to you about today. I think you're really going to enjoy this drawing, and it's incredibly important in terms of your development in AutoCAD specifically, and specifically even maybe more than that with respect to like mechanical engineering and your ability to represent a shape that's much more kind of like I don't know, in some ways maybe more relevant to the mechanical engineering world. And we're going to use a new tool today that's going to end up being a super important tool for you to use, not only in like classwork here, but just in the real world. It's a tool called Arrays, Array, an array. And so there's different kinds of arrays. There's polar arrays, there's rectangular arrays, there's path arrays. But the one we're going to use today is polar array. And what I want you to notice about this shape in particular, right? So this shape looks kind of like it looks like a wheel part or a gear of some kind, right? And we're going to use the polar array tool to help us make this shape the way it is. So what I really want you to notice is a couple of things, right? You notice that in many ways it's kind of it's radially symmetric, right? It's got a center point, and then it's got a lot of stuff around it that looks like it all kind of the same in all directions. Now, it's not perfectly radially symmetric, right? Like this little pocket right here doesn't go all the way around the shape. And there's only 5 of these little circles here. They don't go all the way around. And this thing in the center, there's 3 of them. So it's not perfectly radially symmetric, but it's pretty radially symmetric. And what polar arrays allow us to do is they allow us to take some element, say like I want to make this little cutout like semicircle bit right here, and I want to say I don't want to keep making all of these all around the thing. I don't want to do that. I want to say I'm going to make one, and how do I repeat this one thing and make it go all the way around a circle with a given center point, right? And I want to be able to say, I want to make 12 of these things, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to use a polar array. We're going to use polar arrays to create elements, and then we're going to use the polar array tool to say, okay, I want to repeat the same thing around the center point 10 times, or 12 times, or 3 times, or 5 times, right? Either I want it to go all the way around the circle, or I want it to go just part of the way around the circle. Like this goes just from this point over to here. Right? We're going to talk about that. Or a polar array over here is like this goes from this line here over to this line. So there's a path of 120 degrees worth of arc that these things sweep out. So that's the polar array tool allows us to do. Right? It allows us to take an element and repeat that element around a central point for a given number of times, or a given spacing, or a given amount of overall arc that we sweep out. And so it allows us to make something like this. So the main thing that we're going to learn about today is the polar array tool, and the main challenge is to be able to use that polar array tool a couple of different ways. We use it 1, 2, 3 different times, and then we're using really well-chosen construction lines in order to figure out where to place elements and how far those elements need to go. So, for example, here you can see that this is a circle here and another circle here, joined by 2 arcs, but we need to know that the center point of that circle is right here, and the center point of that circle is right there, and that there's 60 degrees of arc in between those 2 things. So we're going to be using construction lines a lot to help us understand how to do this shape. So as a really quick overview, and I'm going to get into more detail when I do the walkthrough video, but in the overview, here's what I did. Basically, I started with the center point. I used that as the origin. I made a bunch of construction lines. I made one that went up at this angle, which is 60 degrees from the horizontal. This one, which is 60 degrees over, so it's 120 degrees over there. And that allowed me to locate that center point and that center point. I went straight up vertical. I did one that was also straight horizontal, although I'm not sure I used that one. And then I traced a construction line out that went over here, over to over here, and that was 120 degrees worth of arc, right? So 60 over here and 60 over here. Then I started making some circles, right? So those were all construction lines. Then I started making some circles. And the circles I made were this outer one with a radius of 10, so a diameter of 20. I made one that was right here, which was a radius of 6 or a diameter of 12. I made one that was here that had a diameter of 6, a smaller one, diameter of 4. And then this one right here, even though it doesn't say it, is the same one that has a radius of 6. And then I started to locate those elements, right? I made those circles just to kind of like show me where everything went. And then I started using the polar array tool first by making a circle right here that was directly up from the center point with a radius of 1.6 or a diameter of 3.2. I polar arrayed that so that it repeated 12 times around that center point right there. And then I trimmed away all the parts that I didn't want anymore, right? I then used this construction line to set up a small circle here with the center point along at that intersection right there where the construction line met that radius 6 or diameter 12 circle. I made one circle that had a diameter of 2 right there, and then I used the polar array tool again to say I don't want to go all the way around. I just want there to be 5 of them, and the whole distance I wanted to travel out is 120 degrees. So it just made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I then made these 3 things right here, which was a line straight here and a line that went out along a construction line that I drew. And then I repeated that using the polar array. I said I wanted to go 360 degrees around the center point, and I want 3 of them. And so then it made those 3. Lastly, or maybe not lastly, I think I did it earlier, but I made a circle here. I made a circle here with the given radius of 1 or diameter of 2. So I made a circle here, and then I made an arc that joined this top point to that top point, and that another arc that joined those 2, and I was done. So it's a lot. It's fun though, because you get to use the polar array tool, and you get to like start to learn how to use that in a way that is pretty creative. I like that a lot. So I was really excited when I got to do this one for the first time, and I hope you have a good time with it as well. It's a good chance to use the polar array tool and begin to see how it works and just to play around with it a little bit so you can gain some confidence in using that tool. All right, everybody, have a great time with this, and I will show you the walkthrough a little bit later. All right.